I'm excited to introduce our guest today. It is none other than Adam Meister, who you may know from his Bitcoin channel over on YouTube, the BitcoinMeister. He has been in the Bitcoin space since about 2013. A loud, brash personality, and we are excited to welcome you, Adam. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Dudes, I got the best energy in the freaking space. That's what you should have said, baby. I've been bringing this since freaking 2013, okay? That's when I got my first 2 Bitcoin, all right? And they're still there. But I got a lot more than 2 now, of course. And I've been just telling people to buy and hold. And I've been waking people up. You know, I know you guys are chilled out and all that stuff. This is not about being chilled out, baby. This is about living your freaking life. And man, I have been traveling around the world, seeing Bitcoin in person, going to events, just living it up, living the Bitcoin lifestyle, and just people, it's boring just to buy and hold. No, baby, it's not boring. And it's very nice. And if you can't take it, you got no long-term thinking, you got no patience, you got no convictions, if you can't just simply hold on to it. You know what you guys were talking about beforehand, about basically a bunch of people that don't even read the things they're quoting. They're just trying to fit in. Nobody uses their heads anymore. It's just a little Twitter impulsive type of world. Don't be impulsive. Actually take time to think. That's what I'm all about. And there you go. Let's start this baby off.
All right, I'm going to start it off with some breaking news. I'm sorry, Adam, because that was fucking epic. I loved every second of that. But I am now getting word that it is official from the royal family's Twitter account that the Queen of England has just died.
Yeah, so that's what I had gone to check, and then it slowed down my whole browser. Jeez. So yeah, I mean, we all die eventually, dudes. I mean, is that are all the freaking impulsive people gonna crash the Bitcoin price and panic because it's such a ludicrous thing? It seems like every ludicrous piece of news, but that's just ludicrous piece of news. We knew she was gonna die. Oh, what? Should you bow down to King Charles now? What's it all about? Come on, all these centralized people that must worship the monarch. People want Biden to be just like her. And guess what? He's going to end up just like her. It ends up to all of us. Okay, it's newsworthy. Move on. Buy and hold Bitcoin. This is a Bitcoin channel, not a freaking worshiping the monarchy. My Lord.
Fuck yes. Let's go.
Yo, someone clip that segment so I can show my bosses that.
Well, you inspired me immediately. I changed the title to use your fucking brain, buy Bitcoin. So I'm here for it. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Adam, how did Bitcoin come on your radar for our audience who isn't familiar with you? Like, what happened in 2013 that led you down the orange rabbit hole?
It's just noise.
Oh, no, we lost you again. Okay, wait, you're back.
Sorry. I got into it in 2011. I first heard about it in 2011. What got me down a rabbit hole was I had lived a pretty traditional life, you know, going to college, just getting good grades, thinking you're going to get a good job, blah, 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 blah. And the government is the government. Just the government is there. That is what I always thought. That's the most normie thing there is. We must have a government. And it was 2008 when I started reading these alternative economic sites that really opened up my mind to different types of governance, be it political, be it economic. And that just led me down, these alternative economic sites led me to Bitcoin. And so it was really 2008 that my mind really started getting rewired in terms of like, we don't need a government. Unfortunately, most of these, the 80%ers of I say they seem to need it. I mean, it was like.
No. Q, are you still there?
I am.
Come on. I am. It's me that keeps going down then.
Adam, I'm afraid so, man. Your internet, it goes from like 100% full blast, let's fucking go Bitcoin to...
It's because you keep bringing up the state. We've learned this lesson. They don't like us talking bad about them, so you have to use code words a little bit more.
No, fuck that. Let's keep going.
It's the issue is here. I heard here in Bend, Oregon. I'm in Bend right now.
Nice.
All these people moved here. You know, see all the California license plates. I'm just here for a month, and their internet is terrible. It's bad. It's really weird. But no, so yeah, that's just my origin story is, I got into alternative economic sites, alternative, anarchy sites, and that led me to Bitcoin. And then, so I was 2013, to tell you the truth, Coinbase made it easy to buy it. So I was a little bit, being an American, I didn't like wiring money to Japan. So I decided it's easy now. This is a sign from above. Time to spend $1,200 on 2 Bitcoin. So I did.
What a worthy investment and use of some fake paper money, as I like to say. Adam, as we talk about, what this bear market has turned into, and we see that just like many bear markets in the past, everyone turns on each other. We fight amongst family and friends in the Bitcoin space. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this bear market compared to bear markets in the past that you've lived through.
So yeah, 2014, there were people that legitimately thought it was going to die, but we made it through there. And after that moment, there should be no one saying going to zero. But those trolls come back every single time. But that was the ultimate time when it was proven 2014. So that was very much different because there was a legitimate fear that it could go to zero. 2018 was we were joined by our ICO friends. And so it was kind of a contagion type of thing coming from all different directions. A lot of unemployment in the space, a lot of sadness. Events stopped. This time around, events are still going. You could still get a job. Things are still running smoothly. The whole world knows about it. It's intertwined with the macro level stuff much more this time. But I got to tell you, the opportunity is out there right now to even just get a job right now. I'm helping people get jobs, okay? It's the price is down. That's about it. That's the worst of it. The price is down. This time around, it was brought on by greedy people wanting yield. Not greed. I don't want to say greed. People wanting yield. Yield really brought a lot of explosion here and contagion all over the place. People thought, oh, I'm getting 9% at this third party. Nothing could go wrong. It went wrong. But that should just be a lesson learned, is that no matter what, people are going to want yield. And that is why Ethereum is going to get pumped, by the way. Bitcoin does not deliver yield. And well, it does with when they fork off, when we get these crypto dividends, which I encourage. If people think Bitcoin is destroying the environment, make your ESG Bitcoin and we'll get it for free. It will fail. Maybe Elizabeth Warren will promote it as the real Bitcoin. Go ahead, make my freaking day. Pound that like button because it will fail. I have lived through the Bcash thing. I've lived through it all. That's how you get yield on Bitcoin, when these haters create fake Bitcoins, which is good. Let them do it. Compete, don't complain, etc. But the normies out there want yield. You have to admit that. We cannot deny reality. So that was something that was different with this this bear market, but you really shouldn't worry about this bear market. It could continue for we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we could still get back to where we were back on Juneteenth weekend. We touched in the 17s, the 18s, whatever. That was a little unexpected. We could still get back there, but dudes, you could still get a job in this case. There's still great events going on. That really stopped in 2018. There were no more events. It was just done, and you couldn't get a job. But young people, get a job. Don't cry about the queen. Go out there, contact some of these founders on Twitter. Instead of cursing at people on Twitter, there's a lot more cursing on Twitter this time around too. The whole crypto Twitter is much bigger, much larger. So a lot more crybabies this time. Instead of being a complainer, compete. Don't complain. Go get a job. People are hiring, and become rich like me. Pound that like button.
Love that. I want to unpack two things. I want to start with 2014, and then I want to actually go to the statement you just made: compete, don't complain. When you say in 2014 there was a genuine chance to go to zero, forgive the ignorance here, but what was the catalyst? What were the things that was causing the fear and the speculation that this could go to zero potentially?
That every single person would just abandon it. I mean, people, and that there was still a chance technically it could explode. I didn't believe that it could go to zero. I had full faith and confidence, but this was, you couldn't eliminate it from your mind yet. It hadn't bounced back from something this crippling. From the Mount Gox was still in the air. and would people just consider it something that was so fringe that it would be forgotten? I mean, you've got to remember back then there was no mainstream coverage, nothing. There were no channels. I didn't even really. I made a few videos at that point. I mean, Coinbase was all there was in the United States. The easy way to get it, and it was good that was around, but it was complex. I mean, it was really a fringe type of thing. So, and there were, even despite that it was fringe, there were still fudsters that would say it would go to zero. So it was a popular talking point of fudsters back then. So it was really in the air, and people had seen it. It had gone up to $1,100, and that was at 200 approaching. Well, it got below 200. It seemed like it could return to the days where it was double digits. And if it could return to double digits, why can't it return to single digits? If it's single digits, why couldn't it return to zero? And there were people saying the government could crush it still, make it illegal. There were all sorts of things. He hadn't jumped through all the hoops that it has clearly jumped through now. All right. And so there's a lot of experience under its belt that it did not have back in 2014. That it soon gained 2014, 15, and then there was, 2016, you had to say, you had Mike Hearn fudding it and stuff, rage quitting, and nothing could stop it then. Nothing could stop it. It was great. There should have been no doubt by 2016, but there were still people throwing around that FUD even in 2018, but it was kind of laughable. Now it's just like pathetic that people will say, oh, it could still go to zero. It's not going to zero. It's intertwined in the freaking mainstream financial system now. It ain't going nowhere when the leaders of countries are talking about it and stuff. It's just amazing. It's an amazing part of mainstream society now. Normies hate on it, say it's going to destroy the environment. That's great. That's a reason it won't go to zero. When normies are spouting out this mindless nonsense about environmental destruction with Bitcoin, it's not going anywhere. It's scared them so much. It's intertwined in their worst nightmares, which is good. That's great.
I wonder, like, we talk a lot on this show about how Bitcoin has been normalized. I bring up, when it crashed in 2017, 2018, you didn't have CNBC in the news talking about Bitcoin on a daily basis. I wonder though, and like, feel free to rant, be aggressive. We have no filters on this show. Like, if you want a slur of curse words, by all means. But when you see Bitcoin discussed by mainstream media, what are things that are said or talked about that just absolutely piss you off that they're saying or spewing?
Just the catastrophizing of it all, man. That if it doesn't change to proof of stake, that it's going to use up all the energy. I mean, you can see these just the clickbait headlines. That really started when in 2018, when it seemed like people wanted it to fail. That the experiment is over. That's really that's the most annoying part. But at the same time, I like being the Oakland Raiders of money. Back in the day, people might know that. I mean, the Oakland Raiders were popular because they were the hated team. Now it's the Baltimore Ravens. Pound that like button, because that's where I'm from. But it's good to be hated, and that it's like a pleasure that a major candidate for president in 2024, Elizabeth Warren, this could be her main like hate-filled point, is like, let's destroy these rich people that own Bitcoin. And so to me, that's not annoying, but to me, that's where the mainstream is going with this. Hate of the successful and wealthy for just being successful and wealthy, of the long-term thinking just for being long-term thinkers, calling them lucky. Right now, people aren't calling us lucky, but when things are good, what I don't like during like the up times is when the mainstream media says it was just luck, or when, dude.
We have once again.
No, there we go. I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
It's not luck when you're buying when the whole mainstream media is crying.
No, but I did. Oh,
Peekaboo.
Yeah, I said a nice line. You're not when you're buying the mainstream media is crying. It's not luck, dude.
I completely agree with you. It's so infuriating when and it always comes up like people never like are willing to acknowledge like the past experience. Like when everybody was like, you stupid pieces of shit. Like, how dare you buy Bitcoin? It's down, like you're doing a dumb thing. And then when it goes back up, they just claim it's luck. It's infuriating.
It's short-term thinking. It's short-term memories. No one can remember that these people have been saying the same. They're nonstop records. That's the cool thing about Twitter. Sometimes smart people bring up like these quotes by these people that were just hating on Bitcoin. Now they're loving Bitcoin. I mean, no one, and that it's doomed to failure. How many times? I mean, Bitcoin obituaries are great. The Bitcoin obituary site are great because you could see how many times people say it was dead, but the newbies don't get it. You have to live through a cycle. That is my big recommendation. If you want takeaway from a down period is live through a 4-year period and then come back to me. You'll have a stronger hand. Then you'll be more a legitimate source of information, and you'll hopefully remember that they use the same lines every time. But sometimes more. This time around, environmental is much more popular, and that'll be the main form of attack this time around.
I think that's an interesting point. This version's attack is based around the environmental whatevers of proof of work v proof of stake. I want to unpack though, just like I want to feed into this narrative a little bit. Personally, I feel like the 4-year cycle is dead at this point. You go back to the all-time high that was reached at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and even right now, we're under that high. What is your response back to the death of that narrative and the death of a lot of narratives that we've seen over the last like 3-4 months? We've seen everything from stock to flow all the way to the narrative of we won't go below the most recent or the last all-time high. They've all been killed. That
we won't go below the last all-time high. That was surprising. But other than that, I believe the 4-year cycle is very strong, I believe, because the all-time high was at the end of 2017. Then the next, we also reached an all-time high at the 210,000 blocks later in November of 2021, 4 years later. So, I mean, this down cycle is 210,000 blocks since the last down cycle. We're not there are things that very much correspond to 210,000 blocks ago. So and also if you take any moment in time, the ultimate measurement for me is the 210,000 block theory. You take any moment in time, subtract 210,000 blocks from it, Bitcoin is worth more in terms of fiat, in terms of the United States dollar. So I still see these two, the 4-year cycle, 210,000 block, whatever you want to call it. It's the basic ebb and flow of it is still there. And also the downright pattern of you can take any moment in time and subtract 210,000 from it. That has not been broken. So you tell people today you're down about Bitcoin, you spend 19,000 on a Bitcoin, most likely in 210,000 blocks, that moment it's going to be worth more in 2020, 2026 now is 210,000 blocks from now. My Lord. So I'm still into the 4-year cycle. I'm still into the 4-year cycle.
Q, I see in the YouTube chat you have claimed that you have been misquoted. What is your actual?
That's our company. That's our company Slack channel. But sure,
sorry,
I will.
Let me rephrase. You said in YouTube, "Who the fuck?"
There is a narrative. I said there is a narrative that the Fourier cycle is dead. I very much, dude, I'm the fucking guy who says the stock to flow model is still very much.
Oh no, you're
alive
digging
and
yourself
well.
even deeper.
Of course I am. It's so
Q,
valid.
Q, you were
Everything
so
Adam
close.
said is exactly why to use stock to flow to say it will hit this exact price is foolish. But to ignore supply and demand based on the 210 block and the block reward diminishing, that is naive to ignore that. So no, I don't really care to get misquoted, but that's just the way the world works. Fine. If you want to think that I said the Fourier cycle is dead, sure, go for it.
I think that the stock to flow was put up on way too much of a pedestal and shows how there are just a lot of mindless people that like to worship fancy graphics and charts. There's just a lot of people. If you produce some awesome charts and that predict big things, and I'm not saying he did this maliciously, he didn't. But if you do that, you will just get all these blind followers on Twitter. It is unbelievable. Again, it goes back to some of your points before I got on the show, that people just pile on to some things without thinking and just put them on pedestals. Don't put any one person on a pedestal, and don't put any one concept on a pedestal. And a lot of times today in social media Bitcoin land, people are just prone to want a king or a queen, be it a mindset, be it a person, and then they get very disappointed. Don't put yourself in that position, but it keeps on happening. And stock to flow is like the chart embodiment of Trace Mayer. People worshipped him, and then they got disappointed that he did a few things. Just
This is excruciaking. Adam is so animated, he's so compelling, and then we just keep losing him.
It's the bend internet. Thank you, bend internet. All you hippies out there. It keeps going down on me in the day. It's so weird. It is very strange. But no, we'll keep going through it. We'll keep on dealing.
No, we're doing it. It's short enough delay that you come back, and then it's just like, let's just plow through it. So let's keep going.
So I want to talk about the idea that normies need BC in the Matrix. Love you. We're both fucked if that's the case, though, my friend. You're right.
Like, I don't even put myself on my own pedestal. That's just an empty space that I look at every day, and I'm like, you will never attain this greatness. And that's how you motivate yourself.
Like, so off topic was stupid. There was a hilarious meme about just like how rich and historic a lot of Middle Eastern names are. And then a response to that was all of these Persian names where everyone just unanimously is saying like, it's the name of an old Persian king. Because that's what everyone who has a Persian name is told about their name. Like, what does my name mean? It's like, it was the name of some old Persian king. So at some point there was a Persian king named Q. But the question discussion I wanted to have, Adam, you brought up how like normies want yield because like we've been so used to that. We were taught, oh, you can get some sort of an interest rate by saving in this account or do whatever, all that bullshit. That's been normalized in our brains. Couple that with this idea or lack of understanding that money or real free market money doesn't actually need someone in charge of it. We've been so accustomed to the federal government being in charge of our money. We've been so accustomed to bankers and banking regulations that we've normalized those things when we don't actually realize that these are arbitrary and made up rules that were made up 106 years ago. How are you going about trying to convince and break people's reality to see sort of how these fallacies are going to lead us down the wrong path?
It goes deeper than that even. You have to expand your mind further to something that's very simple to understand for people that have a brain. It is separation of money and state. Period. That's it. But most people are like, no, there must be, only the government can control money. Why is this? Why? It's just something we're born with. Well, not something that
No, it is pushed straight into people from a very early age.
It shouldn't be born with. Something that we're ingrained with at a very young age is that they just can't grasp the simple concept I just did. They can grasp separation of religion and state now. They can understand why Joe Biden can't say you all have to be Christian. That's very easy. It's very easy. But they cannot understand that why we must use the U.S. dollar. Like, why can't there be private money? Why can't I? And I take it to a whole new extreme. I think it's great that Tether prints money out of thin air. I think it's great. It shows that if it's not backed by anything, then great. I don't give a darn. It should be able to take that chance. People should pick the best money that's out there. All right. So it's I know people like to hate on Tether and all this stuff, but it is a use case that shows the separation of money and state and shows how insane the state becomes when there is a challenger. How Letitia James wanted to go sue freaking Tether. I mean, what right does the state of New York have over Tether? I mean, it's complete. What gall that but most normies are like, no, the state has every right to control who you shouldn't be able to print your own money. Why not? Why shouldn't I be able to print my own money? Why not?
Yeah, it is fucking wild that that's just so innate. It's so ingrained in people.
Adam, to answer your question, it's for your safety. You can't print your own money because it's to keep you safe. It's not for the sake of other people. You just can't handle it, Adam.
Absolutely not.
And it's for the children. It's for the children. It's for the children. This is how Elizabeth Warrens of the world gain their power. And I know I've mentioned her name a few times here, and some people are just like, she's going to run for president, isn't Joe Biden? Dude, she's the freaking Phantom Menace. She is the worst of them all. Though of all the major ones that we've seen over the last 8 years, she's the worst. She is the worst, but she's smart. She appeals to the children, to the women, to the this. She's a crypto mommy. She hates the rich people. Everything that appeals to the masses that bring on violent revolution. I'm not saying she would bring on violent, this animalistic nature in people to be envious. She brings it in a nice, pretty package. I mean, she's not pretty, but a nice, clean package that makes it seem that makes it normal. That makes hating on people and envious very palatable. And she has identified cryptocurrency. She's smart. She knows that Bitcoin is a major target that could really, bring her to the next level. She wants to be a winner, and she has found something to hate on to do this. So, we're talking about for the children, for your own safety. She's the living embodiment of that nonsense. But that is where the world has gone today. In terms of the virus, no one can think of themselves. No one can wipe their own butts anymore. We need the government to do it. It is sad, but that is the way most people are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the government reinforces those narratives constantly, and with a vast pool of funds in order to try to convince people that they need the government in order to stay safe and to, stay fed. We were just recently talking about how, people think about food as a very classic way of controlling people, right? If you can make people dependent on you to give them food, then you can very quickly control their belief systems. And what people miss a lot of the time is, of course, energy as well. When if you can make people dependent on you for energy, then it's just another massive arrow in your quiver, so to speak, because energy is arguably the root of everything.
Yes.
And I think we see that happening more and more now.
I want to go down the energy rabbit hole in a second, P. Adam, could we unpack? I agree on the notion of, for Bitcoin specifically, Elizabeth Warren is truly the worst political leader out there. I want to unpack, though, your statement. Are you saying in the scope of Bitcoin, or are you saying broader? And if you are saying broader, what are the other aspects that you hold against her?
Well, I'm going to give you a scenario here that shows how evil she could be and how we all need to be a little careful and think big picture. Imagine if the Ethereum merge fails. There are going to be some Bitcoiners celebrating, cheering, going wild. Yes, it's gone. Ethereum is gone. It died. That will be her rise to power right there. She will say, look at this. The number 2 cryptocurrency just went down to 2. We got to attack Bitcoin. Right now, if something like that doesn't happen, it's going to be, she's going to attack all the third parties. Going to try to regulate the Bitcoin banks. And that'll be actually good. Well, not good for Bitcoin. I mean, shields. There will be many shields for Bitcoin. She will attack first. But I mean, she's not into, freedom. She's not into freedom of money. She's not into freedom of association. She's just into control of people. And so Bitcoin is the ultimate freedom money. But right now, she's got some obstacles in her way to get there. Just, she's saying crypto this, crypto that, third-party banks, and yield places, DeFi. She's got a lot of options, but we could get to it. I'm just trying to bring some worst-case scenarios. And she's an environmentalist, too. Environmental freak. So she's going to come at it from proof of work, proof of stake. And I mean, I could see, again, I never would suspect that we would have political leaders that would become so biased as they are right now. But she could become if there would be an ESG fork of Bitcoin, she could legitimately become like a promoter of it. I mean, it would be, this would not shock me at this point. But I do want to, just bring up, she is looking for a big catastrophe in the bigger cryptocurrency ecosystem. And the one that would be her dream one would be right now, would be if the merge failed. Because there would be a lot of, that would be a huge story. And then Bitcoin would be priority number 1 at that point. She could use the Ethereum failing. If Ethereum totally failed, that could be her ticket to the presidency, but also a complete tremendous attack on Bitcoin like we've never seen before. But so I am not a destructive.
Man,
Liz Warren, also known as Pocahontas, really did not like those statements, Adam.
Fuck calls Liz Warren Pocahontas.
Did you never hear Trump call her Pocahontas?
No.
That was like, honestly, like, to Trump's credit, which I very rarely will give him, like, that was an excellent diss because she spent a lot of her career talking about how she is 1/16 Cherokee.
Compete, don't complain. I say. I want to throw that out there with the Ethereum stuff. Just in case people think I'm like some Ethereum promoter. No, let them just do. Let them do their thing over there, and don't waste your time complaining about them. But with her, with that name that you called her and everything. The funny thing is, she pretended to be a Native American for many years. It helped her get some college, move up in the university systems. But she's the ultimate Puritan. I mean, she can't let people live their freaking lives. She's got to be a busybody Puritan in all of our lives. No. You can't have fun. You can't send your Bitcoin to some conservative. I can only imagine the restrictions she will want to put in. She will dream. Of course, that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It is the ultimate freedom of association. But there are so many people that use these Bitcoin banks. She will try to regulate them. So, like, no, you can't send it over to Iran. You're talking about Persians and everything. That is the beauty of Bitcoin. I can send my money over to Persia right now if I wanted to, if I control my own private key. But most people, if you're keeping it at Coinbase, they're not going to. There's already a few addresses that are restricted that are affiliated with some Iranian organizations. But no, she's the ultimate Puritan. Instead of being a Native American, the Puritans, they were not big fans of the natives back in the day. But she pretended to be a native, but she's just nothing but a busybody Puritan that wants to, classic New Englander. New England Puritan. Not all New Englanders are like that, but that's
you heard it here first, folks. Adam says all New Englanders are Puritans.
No, don't, please. Now I'm no Red Sox fan or anything. Down with the Red Sox, down with the Yankees.
Whoa.
Go Orioles, baby.
I love it.
Oh, Adam, I thought.
What other inflammatory things? Wait. I want to bring it all the way back.
Wait,
So,
hang on, time out. Something needs to be corrected first, and then P, you can talk. Adam, it's pronounced Iran. It is my homeland. I will always have to correct guests when they come on. Not Iran, not Iranian, Iran.
Well, dude, I am from Baltimore. I have the worst accent freaking.
No, you're fine. Bro, every
despite
American says it
high-
wrong. I'm on a mission to correct every American when they come on this show. It's Iran. Anyways,
Iran.
P, I interrupted you.
I think maybe that deserves some air horns. What do you think?
I think we need some air horns.
Correct spelling of pronunciation, even of Iran.
Pronunciation.
Oh God! For some reason, it was like all the way up until 3 blasts through this episode. I was like 100% here for it, and that one felt forced, and now I'm just 100% over it. We'll bring it back. I'll probably be back into it in like 30 seconds. But
we're talking about Persian and everything. We're talking about different, different cultures. I just want to say we're approaching Rosh Hashanah, so you better do some chauffeurs instead of you blow the chauffeur instead of blowing the air horn. Okay,
now we're talking. All right.
We're getting close to. I'm coming back to Baltimore just for Rosh Hashanah. Baltimore's such a horrible, terrible place now. I only go back a few times a year, and I'm from the freaking county, as people can tell by the color of my skin. Anyway, but but before I go back to Baltimore County, where I'm from, originally, I do want to say I'm going to Fairbanks, Alaska.
Wait, sorry, Q. Did you just fall off your chair because you were laughing so hard?
I mean, I'm standing, but I was laughing so I went to school in the DMV area, so I know what Adam means with that comment, and that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, all the hipsters moved to the city. I mean, I lived in the city for a while, but it's a very the people left the city at a time, and people try to pretend I'm from Baltimore. No, you're from freaking Towson, dude. You're from the freaking suburbs and everything. I mean, there's no shame in that game. Look, and the thing is, I could talk about race in this way. You know why? Because I can't be canceled. I work for myself. I have Bitcoin. This is the way of truth. And it's pathetic how woke.
I have some bad news for you, Adam.
And Baltimore wishes. All these people try to pretend, we're just like Boston. We're just as high level as them. And no, it's ghetto. Baltimore is ghetto. It is viciously dangerous. I mean, I have traveled around this whole world, this whole United States. It's really insane. How you can get jacked on the street, and the excuses the people come up with. Oh no, you're just exaggerating. No, it's not an exaggeration. It's not But again, it's ingrained in me. Love of Baltimore Orioles. It's never going away. It's never going away. But they're lying to themselves. And I mean, the corruption in Baltimore city government, it's comical. You would think it's a Onion article, but it's real life. So I didn't complain. I was not a tree. You don't have to live there forever. Just leave your place of origin and find a cool place. And don't get tied down with attack vectors of wives and kids that need the white picket fence and the huge house that you're stuck with the mortgage in Baltimore County. No, don't buy into this house nonsense, because then you do get stuck in a region. And that's
Adam. I pulled a quote from what you just said. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were not a tree in Baltimore.
No, I am not a tree, baby.
Okay,
I
all right.
You're going to learn very quickly how weird P actually is. I think P is now getting comfortable around you, Adam.
No, I'm so into this energy. Let's fucking go. Wait, but I want to pull it all the way back, Adam. We've been talking a lot about things that are negative in the Bitcoin space, negative in politics. Let's shift over to what people can do about it. Like, what is the message that we want to convey to people around how they can react to this changing environment that we find ourselves in? They got him again. Bend Organ.
Damn hippies.
He'll be back. He keeps coming back.
We're back.
Oh, he's back. Okay. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I hear every single word that I've never been cut off from you guys. I just see that it's cutting me off. I have heard every single word.
Oh, shit, he heard the shit talking P.
I've heard everything. Yeah, man. Yeah, I heard when you dudes were talking about my crazy hair. No. Okay. So let's go. What can we do? Well, the best thing you can do is never panic. Don't buy into these narratives at all. Keep speaking the truth. Fitting in is overrated. Don't give into the peer pressure, okay? Never give into the peer pressure of agreeing with these authoritarians. Keep calling them authoritarians, all right? And keep holding your Bitcoin, and just don't have the conviction, long-term thinking. Don't waste your time on some of these online arguments either, okay? If someone is stubborn and is like, you know what, Bernie Sanders is correct, and we're gonna socialize okay, let them do it. Don't get in an hour conversation about it. Don't, prioritize the threats. There are all these people that are lame on the leftist side, on the authoritarian side. There are people that are lame on the right side too. Just prioritize which ones are the biggest threat. I think Elizabeth Warren is the biggest one. Joe Biden is a senile old man. If he remains president, it's not the worst of the worst, okay? It's not. I think she's the worst of the worst. We've done fine with the crazy old man as president of the United States. It's not the end of the world. Don't get caught up in the left and right paradigm of it. And no, we are living in a golden age. We are living in the best time to be alive.
How so?
So you can get jobs. You can monetize so much in this Bitcoin. You could be an artist and make money. You don't have to. But what I would try to do is get away from normie society where you feel like you have to fit in and go to college. Learn, if you know how to send a Bitcoin, I mean, that's a more valuable skill than most of the stuff you learn in liberal arts college right now. Think of it that way, that when I keep on screaming, you don't need to fit in, you don't need to fit in. Learn some of these simple Bitcoin. If you learn how to store a Bitcoin on a Trezor, I mean, you could start a business off of that. I mean, I used to consult people on corporations need to learn how to do this type of thing. There got to be educational teachers out there that teach something. We take for granted these basic skills: how to store a Bitcoin, how to send a Bitcoin. Elizabeth Warren doesn't know how to do that. She might be president of the United States in a few years. So that you got to get out of the mindset like, I've got to get a traditional liberal arts college education. No, if you're 16 years old and you know how to do all these Bitcoin things, try to make some money before you even have to, apply to college. Try to get. I mean, it's just amazing, the golden age. This is the best. Don't be a downer, and that's what I'm.
Don't be a downer. Cue, riff, go for it. You're back.
Here I am. Don't worry. I saw I went down. Repeat to yourself over and over again. 2020s is going to be the most amazing decade to be alive. So if you're in it early with the Bitcoin side of things, and cryptocurrency is going to be one of the major, Bitcoin is going to be one of the major innovations of it. And we've already, you've gotten like a little taste of it. It's only the beginning. By the end of this decade, oh my Lord, how much more comfortable people are going to be. But yet the complaints will be still out there. As we get more comfortable, it's easier to catastrophize. So then don't catastrophize people. Unfortunately, there are Bitcoiners that get into this like freedom of association thing. Like, no, you can't. You got to be part of this Bitcoin Inquisition. You're not allowed to be, even talk about Ethereum, even talk about, even.
Well, let's unpack that, Adam. I know you can hear us. You keep saying this phrase, and I.
That.
Go for it, Q.
Well, essentially, the compete, don't complain narrative. I love that slogan. I'm probably going to steal that from you. I will give you credit as I steal and post it all over social media and say it on this show.
Awesome.
But you're so right. There is this degree of, but like they shouldn't do that, rather than just like, all right, these attacks of the ICOs in 2017, or the bullshit shit coins that keep popping up, or a narrative around proof of stake versus proof of work, all of these things will continue to happen in varying degrees throughout the rest of time. It will never stop. And so to act as though like, oh, if we call them out enough, like then there will never be another shitcoin. That is more naive than buying into a shitcoin. I fully support that idea and concept. And yet at the same time, I do think it is valuable to call out scams when they are scams to help protect the naive, because there is a degree, like I'm very open and I talk about this a lot. Like when I really started to be introduced to Bitcoin as this investment vehicle, it was during the bull run of 2017. And the best thing that happened to me was that I was an assistant in Hollywood who was making minimum wage, still living with my parents, which I still do now. And I didn't have a savings to go and buy Bitcoin with, because if I had bought Bitcoin at 19K at that moment and watched it go all the way down to 3K, knowing myself and my investment criteria, I would have sold along the way down and I would have never looked at it again. So I see that and I understand that about myself. So there is a degree of protection that needs to be there. But I think you're absolutely right that like we can't get caught up. It's almost like you have to brush your teeth every day. Like they're going to pop up. You just brush your teeth in the morning, brush your teeth at night, call out the scammers, but then go back to building on Bitcoin. Focus on Bitcoin.
Yes. Do not become fixated on it, because then you're losing it. You're losing your mind. If you become fixated on these FUD that will continue to happen, it's not going to stop. But don't become when you become fixated on something like that, you eventually turn into them.
That's a really interesting point, that you become the thing that you are not, or that you are fighting against.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
You're back.
It's giving me that. Yeah. Just don't take it to the level where you want to destroy something else. Warn people about it, but you're not going to be able to destroy those other things. If you're so confident they are bad, they will destroy themselves, just like Bcash did. Okay. Why? And if you are so confident, if you think Ethereum is the devil incarnate, then don't try to destroy it. It will destroy itself. All right. If that's what you do, not waste your time. Destruction is not, by very definition, you're not being productive with destruction. Now, warning people that's a different thing. Is education. That is a productive endeavor. Trying to explain the difference between proof of work and proof of stake is a productive endeavor, because proof of stake is trying to destroy proof of stake. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to destroy proof of stake. It's complete wisdom. But explaining the difference is a great educational endeavor right there. So don't become fixated, because fixation just leads you down these terrible paths of where you become your enemy, and that's not good.
What do you think most people miss when they are just starting to understand Bitcoin?
The uncensorable aspect of it, that we're living in a world right now where people take they think PayPal is awesome. I can send my money anywhere. So Bitcoin, I can send my money. It's sort of like PayPal, but I can, it's a good way for savings and stuff. No, they don't. The incredibly important thing about Bitcoin is that the world has changed, and people are not hiding it anymore. If you support a deplorable, you might not be able to send your money to that deplorable anymore. And Bitcoin allows you to do that. And third parties, people don't really grasp how terrible third parties are. Like, well, I'm into this Bitcoin thing. I understand it. I'm keeping it at Coinbase. So they don't grasp that. Like, I've had people like Why would Coinbase confiscate my money? Why would they do that? Well, how could they do? Well, if you send it to a deplorable and Elizabeth Warren didn't like it, they will close down your account. People don't understand that true aspect of Bitcoin. If that you control your own private key, you are going to be able to send it anywhere, and that there are forces out there governments out there that are not letting people, that are censoring financial transactions, and Bitcoin is a way to get around that. And people, that is something that takes understanding of the current situation on this planet, but and what Bitcoin can really do. So people don't understand that very valuable aspect of Bitcoin, that there are a lot of people that don't want you to associate with a lot of other people, and Bitcoin is the key to allowing you to associate with anyone on this planet that you want to.
You look so thoughtful.
I want to frame another question that is going to be taken out of context, and I'm going to be labeled as a whatever. So I will give whoever wants to do gotcha journalism the sound bites, but we see a contingent of arguments rooted around, or actually, no, let me scratch that. I want to play out a scenario with you that I want to, more of a thought experiment than this is a reality. But in your opinion, where are the largest points of failure for Bitcoin?
Do you mean like what is the greatest threat to Bitcoin? I think we kind of already
that too, but I more mean right now, based on the network itself, like where are the areas that you think are the greatest attack vectors?
Well, it's what socially, what can be brought about, what can be promoted as the scariest thing. It all involves, because there's no technical issue or anything like that. It's social. It's the narrative. If we ever lost control of the narrative, that is the worst attack. And then someone could fork off a Bitcoin that could be centralized, and that would be somehow considered the real Bitcoin. But we're not, because of the people that I've called them Bitcoin inquisitionists. People call them the toxic people. You might not like their techniques, but that is the line in the sand right there that prevents the ultimate narrative switchover, the ultimate loss of narrative. That line right there. So you might find those dudes to be tasteless and on a certain level disgusting and just, but that prevents the narrative takeover. And so, but if they went away, then there would be more of a threat. Like, yeah, the narrative could be switched. The narrative could be mangled in a way where Bitcoin, and we'd have
wait, we lost you.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that. So I mean, you asked
Keep it going.
You asked the question, what's the biggest threat? That's a pretty convoluted threat right there, but
oh man, see, Adam, I feel like we're missing like the key detail, which is why I keep saying like, oh no, we lost you, because I'm wondering what you were going to say.
In terms of narrative shift over, I mean, the way people are trying to shift the narrative right now is the ESG attack. But I'm not worried about the ESG attack. Right now, that is the biggest tool in the toolbox of the people trying to freak with the narrative is the ESG stuff. Anything.
Oh no, my friends. Key, what do you think? What are your thoughts on what Adam said so far?
I think the attacks from the political space are the most worrisome. I think we can get Bitcoin regulated, not to death, but regulated to the point where it would be like a sprinter running a 100-meter dash with chains and weight and just bungee cords all attached to it. And it's just never able to actually complete the race, i.e., never able to reach its full potential. I've been vocal on my feelings that there are little things, like for example, I think that the way leverage and leveraged buying has been introduced to the Bitcoin market is the main reason why we have yet to have a six-figure Bitcoin. I actually believe that the market itself is correcting and preventing Bitcoin from reaching certain levels when there's an over leverage of buyers on the long side, to where if Bitcoin were to reach certain levels, their payout would be more than the total Bitcoin in circulation. The market just isn't going to allow that. The exchanges that offer these leverage positions aren't going to allow that. And so if these leverage positions are more muted, are just not allowed to exist, which in my opinion, I think that's the way it should be, you would actually see Bitcoin's price discovery be a much more natural and, in my opinion, less volatile thing. But that's just an example of cords and chains holding back the potential of Bitcoin.
I think the leverage stuff is. I wouldn't. I think it's been an issue, but show me the underlying people. At the end of the day, give me the real Bitcoin. You're right. I mean, there is an inflate. It appears there's more Bitcoin out there because of all this leverage stuff. It does.
But between that and all of the paper Bitcoin promises of exchanges, like I'm genuinely concerned there will be a bank run of sorts on the exchanges, and people will be left thinking they have more Bitcoin than they actually do. That is a genuine fear of mine.
Yeah, but at the end of that would clear out the system. That's probably what we're going to get in 2026. That'll be that. That's
scary.
Yeah, well, it's the Wild Wild West. It's fun, but the over-regulation threat, I think that is a threat to the success of specific countries. I think if the United States goes that route, then we're going to become a poorer country, and some Asian country is going to be, I'll take my Bitcoin business over there to Singapore, wherever it may be. And because we have 50 states here, I don't think we're going to have the over-regulation probably in the United States. I think some states will nullify the federal law if Bitcoin becomes too regulated. Florida and Texas won't enforce those laws. We're not down that road. But thank God we live in a country that has 50 different experiments going. That's a different topic, a related topic, but I'm not worried. I mean, regulation is not cool. We should speak out against regulation as much as we can. I don't think it's a game ender. I don't think anything's a game ender for Bitcoin. But again, with a president like Elizabeth Warren, we're going to get a lot of regulation. Yeah, that would be bad. That wouldn't be cool.
So I think we can all be on the same page that after this conversation agree that if Elizabeth Warren does become president of the United States, we are in fact living in the darkest timeline.
Of potential presidents, yeah, that's the worst president. That's the worst. But still, you'll still be good, dudes. It'll still be a happy, great time to be alive. Just you might have to move to Florida, where Governor DeSantis will allow you to do anything you want to do. I mean, I believe in nullification. I believe that the states should nullify unjust federal laws, but we haven't gotten there yet. In one sense, we haven't. But of course, on a local level, there are plenty of cities that have nullified immigration laws. So, I mean, in one sense, we're already there. So, I mean, and it's so we can say to our leftist friends, well, wait a second, the federal immigration laws are not enforced in Baltimore or Washington or New York. Why should these laws restricting Bitcoin be enforced in Florida? And it's a legitimate argument right there. So, I have no problem with leftist states nullifying federal laws. Good. let them do that. It will help in the long run. It will bring.
It's a real life A/B test. Like we talk about that a lot. It's let one state take one action, let the other state take the other, and let them play it out. And we will see in real time which state's decision is the right decision.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what the founders intended, or certain founders intended that, at least.
So, Adam, I'm curious if, like, where are your expectations of the growth of Bitcoin? While we see the price at the levels it's at now, we also have other metrics like hash rate or difficulty reaching new all-time highs. We have the most number of wallets with more than one Bitcoin. We have the most number of wallets with more than 0.1 Bitcoin. We seem to be growing despite what we're seeing price-wise. What are you paying attention to as far as global adoption?
Well, what is global adoption? Is it how many people are using the Lightning Network in Africa? Or is it how many people are getting around restrictive governments? For me, the measurement that means the most to me is as governments become more authoritarian, what percentage of the normies are waking up to like getting out of their local banking systems? As inflation becomes so obvious in so many tremendously populated countries, how many people are just like not valuing the dollar anymore, not valuing, not using the Pakistani currency anymore, not using the Brazilian currency? How many are now just keeping all their savings in Bitcoin? Because that's what we really, inflation and government authoritarianism is only growing. So the only way to combat that financially is Bitcoin. It's not the Lightning Network. It's pure Bitcoin as your just unit of account, as your store of value, as everything. As getting out of your I don't understand how people in these third world countries even want to participate in their local banking systems. I don't get it, man. I mean, a lot of them just want to hold dollars. The dollar is an incredible brand. It is an incredible brand that people, once their currencies start to fail, that's what they jump to first.
Sad.
In these emerging nations, most people, if they're like Argentine peso about to fail, they're going to jump on the dollar instead of jumping on Bitcoin. We need more people that are going to just like, you know what, fiat is fiat. Let's go to something that's not fiat. And I think more and more people are doing that. Unfortunately, it takes things like the Canadian trucker debacle for people to really wake up to what governments are doing. And we might need something bigger than that. And that's really scary, but oh well. I'm just watching from the sidelines. I've already got all my value in Bitcoin. I don't need to worry about what authoritarian measure the United States is going to take to scare enough people into Bitcoin, because there are going to be a lot of people that lose a lot of money from the next devastating wake up call.
And I mean, to your point too, we've started to see, between what we saw up in Canada at the beginning of this year, we've seen bank runs begin all across the world at this point. We're slowly and steadily seeing the use cases for Bitcoin pop up more and more. Just in the last week, we have two countries that have been under US sanctions, my home country of Iran and Russia, now announcing that they will accept and use Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but it will primarily be Bitcoin, just in my opinion, to finalize and settle international trade. I'm curious how much weight you give to how nation states interact and adopt Bitcoin. I provided those examples. We all famously know what's going on with Bitcoin down in El Salvador, yesterday being the 1-year anniversary of Bitcoin being legalized as legal tender in that country. We slowly are seeing other countries adopt as well. Do you give any weight to these moves by states, or are you more concerned with Bitcoin getting in the hands of individuals?
I think
I guess I'll bring up, if you have not yet subscribed, please hop on over to the Bitcoin Magazine store, use promo code BM Live, get 10% off of the Bitcoin Magazine subscription. We have a new issue coming out shortly. It is called the Orange Party Edition. It is excellent, excellent, excellent. You're not going to want to miss it. Get your subscription now over the Bitcoin Magazine store. Use promo code BM Live. Adam, you back with us? No. Okay. I will answer my own question first. I think there is a degree in which, as nation states use it, it is helpful to see the use cases of Bitcoin, but I do not think it's helping to move the needle forward for adoption. And I think statistics like the number of total wallets, the number of UTXOs, and in total, I think just the number of accounts with more than one Bitcoin, those growing things to me that is the signal. I digress. What do you think, Pete? What is between nation states adopting or making moves to adopt Bitcoin, like we saw Russia and Iran do over the last week, or El Salvador a year ago? Are those actions that help push Bitcoin forward, or is it certain things like, for example, the Canadian government attacking people's bank accounts and then individual citizens now seeing firsthand how and why they need Bitcoin? Someone let Adam back in, please.
He's not here, unfortunately. I think it's both, actually. I think that when there are these efforts which are sort of more costly from a resource perspective to educate people, it takes more energy, but I think that lays the groundwork for people to be able to understand these things when they are forced to, or when they really need to. I think, we talk about this a lot, but there's a reason that the, countries that do not have, or that are sort of beholden to the US dollar, are so much more easily able to understand and grok Bitcoin rapidly than we are, because we live in this country where, we get we have the undeniable privilege of being in the country that produces the United States dollar. And so I think people will only adopt Bitcoin, but the majority of people will adopt Bitcoin when it is the most convenient to do so, and when they are forced to do so. So it's one of the, I think as there are systems like, as there are systems that solve problems in a unique way with Bitcoin, that will also get people to start using it. But it's going to take pain. Pain is the most powerful motivator, in my opinion.
And it is definitely the best teacher. Absolutely. I think I want to expand on the idea of pain, and it's individual feeling. Like, you have to have something happen to you personally to see the use cases. So to be honest, like, I'm just going to say this, Jim Johnson's over on Rumble. I genuinely believe the reason you don't see the use cases for Bitcoin and why you think this doesn't work and why you think gold is better is because you've never had to really interact with money in a stateless manner before. We have had the privilege in this country, in the United States of America, to have the global reserve currency. And may we continue to be so lucky, but do not be naive. Your experience in this world is not the only experience. And I hope that whatever lesson comes your way in the future that shows you why you need Bitcoin, it isn't as harmful as many other people's experiences are.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Unfortunately, it looks like we're still having technical difficulties with pulling Adam back in. Adam, if you can hear us, this has been absolutely incredible. I really, really enjoyed your enthusiasm and your animated antics. We definitely need to have you back on in the very near future when you can get more stable internet. Even I think it is a testament to how awesome you are that even with the technical difficulties, we managed to forge ahead as long as we did. But yeah, Q, where do you think we should go from here? We can do our usual Q&A from the audience. We can keep talking about relevant issues as they come up, as we think about them.
I mean,
my friend?
If anyone has questions, he's back.
All right.
Boom.
All right.
Okay.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hear you.
We can.
Let's try. Here, I want to say something about these countries. These countries that say they're going to use Bitcoin for international settlement and everything, they'll do it until they start to lose power over their people. Okay, so it's somewhat gimmicky, and they're not going to let Bitcoin infiltrate. You know, people put Russia on this pedestal because they speak against Western insanity or whatever. You know, the West is going down the tube. He puts his foot down against this cultural deterioration, whatever. The dude will not let his people have Bitcoin if it frees them up in any way. Same with China. Same with all these countries. Okay, so yeah. If they can make some bucks off of it, and if they get around sanctions on a country level, then yeah, they'll use it for the time being. But if it starts to get into their people's, if their people are able to associate now with anyone they want to financially all over the world, they're going to lose a lot of power. It's really an empowering mechanism for individuals. So on the government level, they might let it flourish for a while. But man, they will crack down as much as possible if they start losing power on their people, which they will. So I don't get excited when I hear Russia is using Bitcoin. Okay, what's next? I just want the Russian regime to go away and just to let that all regimes on this planet let their people just be financially free any way they want to. And that's definitely not going around. So I don't get too crazy about El Salvador too, because there could be a coup at any moment and then everything changes. All right. Just get it in the hands of the people. We need people on the individual level to understand how beneficial it is for true individual freedom. Not for, countries getting around sanctions, but you getting around being canceled. You getting around private corporations sanctioning you, or you getting around sanctions of government and private organizations working hand in hand to sanction you, which is the very definition of fascism. And fascism is a growing trend in governments all over the world. It's a pretty trendy form of fascism that Klaus Schwab promotes. The stakeholder capitalism is fascism. It is, the government says this is how you have to run your company. It's not private property anymore. We have a say on how you're going to do things. That's fascism right there. And it's become very trendy and very palatable. And Bitcoin it gets around that stuff right there. Right then it lets you associate with anyone. But don't fall into this stakeholder capitalism stuff, guys. That is not real capitalism. That is fascism. But it's a pretty form of it that bald Klaus Schwab can say is helping the environment. Oh God, there's so many gimmicks around it. That's for another show, though.
No, it is.
You said the magic words. Klaus is actually, as we're slowly discovering, I guess if you would consider Dr. Frankenstein the monster Frankenstein's father, I would consider Klaus Schwab P's father in that context.
I take that as a great thank you. So I guess what I'm trying to say. It's a great honor.
Dude, man, I don't know if that guy could even produce a sperm at this point anymore. He's so much of a machine. He's like Darth freaking Vader. Okay, it's not useful down there anymore. I don't think. I mean,
yeah, I feel like there's some like horrible monstrosity that like animates his.
Well, he's got like 8 vaccines by now, right? I mean, he's gotten like 8 boosters. I doubt anything works down there.
Can he even be said to be human anymore? I don't think so.
No, I don't think he's human anymore. No, he looks like he's definitely Darth Vader. He's just put together in you know, some emperor put them together somehow magically. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
To Adam's point, though, I do believe George Lucas said that he was a time traveler and saw Klaus Schwab from the future and based Darth Vader on him. So this is a true interview. You can look it up.
If you remember when they took off Darth Vader's mask at the end of Return of the Jedi, he looked a lot like Klaus Schwab at that point. You know, very pale.
No, he definitely did. I mean, Kyle,
Conehead by then, yeah.
One thing that I think about sometimes, you know, like shower thoughts where you're like, I wonder why, is how it is that so many of these figures that control centralized entities look like caricatures of supervillains. Like truly, if you like went to a character artist and you were like, hey, design me the most crazy looking central banker you possibly could, like this evil cadre of monsters, you'd produce like Augustus Carson's, you know, like giant, like morbidly obese man. You'd produce Christine Lagarde, the weird like Skeletor, like, you know, you've got Yellen, you've got Klaus. I mean, it's just we're a bevy of options.
I don't know. It's like we're living in a fantasy world. We're living in a movie where the villains are so obvious. it's really strange. It is, but still, people, World Economic Forum and all that stuff. I mean, there's a legitimate people consider him very serious. I mean, it's like he's a big joke. I don't know. It's, you know, it's clown world. We're really living in a clown world, and don't worry too much. I mean, don't spend all your days making fun of, like, being paranoid about Klaus Schwab. I will say this. Bitcoin beats him any day of the week. But, man, they're going to come up with some since people just worship leaders like that, their Fed coins, their centralized, I mean, CBD, centralized, whatever, the central bank digital currencies, that is a real huge thing for this next decade. I know we don't have time to talk about it. That's not going to bring down Bitcoin, but man, that is going to enslave a lot of people. It's a really powerful tool in their toolbox of inflation insanity that has not been tapped at all yet. And wow, we are going to see some wild. I have predicted on other shows in the United States government with Fed coin, we're going to see negative 10% interest rates on mortgages. That the government of the United States will offer negative 10% interest rates for people. And this might be a way to do to partially do reparations for minorities. Also, it's just like, hey, now we'll let you get a house. We'll give you negative 10% interest rate, and people will still default. That'll be amazing. But that's the power of Fed coins that has not been exploited at all yet. And World Economic Forum, they'll like it too, because it's a way of what's it called? When you get paid a salary every month.
UBI.
Without working, what's that?
Universal
called?
Basic Income.
UBI.
Yeah, they support UBI. FedCoin is a great way of doing a UBI. So I mean, oh wow, the possibility, the inflationary possibilities are out there, and because they are, I mean, financial control is so powerful. So yeah, FedCoin will be a great enslavement system by these people that are outside and inside of government and intertwined with. It's a great fascist tool. Is FedCoin. So bring it on. Compete, don't complain.
I love it.
I know that private money will beat fascist money any day of the week. So
yeah, I mean, just to echo on what you were saying, I think it's so interesting because we already have that system templated, right? We have credit cards where basically they're able to massively shift consumer spending patterns simply by sort of positive reinforcement, right? Where people have to think of like FedCoin being this thing where it's like, oh, you're going to get, $200 in FedCoin, and if you don't spend it within 6 days, it disappears. And it's easy for people to imagine that and to be like, oh, people would riot in the streets. But what they don't realize is the way that, in my opinion, this will be rolled out initially, at least, is it will be like credit cards where it's like, oh, you get $200 in FedCoin, and hey, if you spend it on, insect milk within the next 2 weeks, it counts for double the number of Fed coins. And it's like, those systems are so powerful, and people will just be like, I mean, why wouldn't I want more? Like, I want more milk, or I don't know. We're headed down a dark path is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, Pete, that system you just introduced, buy a new credit card, spend $1,000, get a $50,000, like that exists. Like to Adam's point earlier, it's the same things over and over again. Like we have yield. We have yield in the banking system. That's been introduced. It's been so normalized that people expect that from their money. And then in turn, it's like, oh, I'm going to have to use this thing. Like, what's the bonus? What do I benefit? What do I stand to gain if I use this? Well, if you use this new money, if you use this new credit card, this amount in this window of time, we'll give you more to spend.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's a recreation of the same things we've become accustomed to, because it's a much more palatable thing to swallow versus to absolutely shatter and break everyone's reality over, hey, everything we've done and known about money is just wrong and we need to start from ground zero. It's a much harder conversation for the state to have, but it's easy for us on an individual level. But I do think, and this is something that I get castrated for a lot. And I don't know if you remember the conversation we had with Shinobi in Spaces, where I was like, at a certain point, though, the majority of Bitcoin users will not understand the underlying technology as much as those of us here in this space right now early on. And we have to, I think, rather than fight against that, we have to create processes and systems that actually help onboard those people and give them the things that they need, and recognize that the things they need are not going to be the same as the things that we, who were the early adopters, need and want in our money.
Yeah. That is a beautiful point. And when we get to the point where most people don't understand what we understand now, that'll be good for Bitcoin. I mean, unfortunately, there'll be a lot of people storing at third parties then, but whatever. Not everyone can be a technical expert, a technical genius. And so there need to be ways that make it more palatable for normies that we might not like exactly. And, if you have a problem with those companies, then, okay, you got to let them, you make a company that's for hardcore normies then, okay? Compete, don't complain, right there. But there are a lot of people that hate Coinbase for that reason, because it is like the ultimate in like trying to get normies. We're going to give you yield. We're going to give you altcoins and everything. Okay, let's see if Swan can do a better job just being pure Bitcoin. Let's see. Is Swan going to be a bigger company or Coinbase? Who's going to be the winner, Swan or Bitcoin? Let compete, don't complain. But there do seem like there's some people out there that are Swan fans that want like the government to crack down on.
Oh no. Well, Adam, we're actually at the end of our show, so the timing is okay in this case. I think you're back. Okay, we're at the end of the show, but I do want to give you the opportunity. This has been amazing, as I said before. Can you tell people how they can find you? And oh no, he's gone. Okay.
Techbalt on Twitter. TECHBALT on Twitter. That's like Technology Baltimore. Just look up BitcoinMeister or Adam Meister on YouTube. But Twitter is, the ultimate right now for the Bitcoiners. If you actually, you can click on my links there to get to my videos. TECHBALT on Twitter.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Pound that like button.